Cold December air cut through the holiday unit's razor wire fence. 7 inmates crouched in the shadows, tools in hand. "Now," whispered George Rivas. The lock snapped. They were out. Behind them, a siren wailed. Red lights flashed. "Go, go, go!" Rivas shouted. The men vanished into the night as guards poured into the yard. A stolen white truck waited outside the perimeter. Rivas jumped in the driver's seat. "They'll lock the city down soon," one said. "Then we better not be in it," Rivas replied. Escape in progress. 7 inmates confirmed. The radio crackled inside the control tower. "Seal every road to Huntsville," the warden barked. Weeks earlier, inside the prison workshop, George Rivas whispered to the others, "Christmas means less guards. We walk out like repairmen." They nodded. Every detail was mapped. On escape day, they wore stolen maintenance clothes and pushed a fake toolbox cart. A guard waved them through the gate. He never suspected a thing. One inmate slid a hidden screwdriver into the panel. Click. The gate opened like it had all week. "Keep walking," Rivas said calmly. They loaded stolen tools into a truck, pretending to work. "Shift's over," one guard said. "Yeah," Rivas smiled. "We're clocking out." He wasn't lying. Once outside, they ditched the uniforms and changed into civilian clothes. The wind hit their faces for the first time in years. "Feels good," one whispered. "Don't get used to it," Rivas replied. The truck sped down I-45. Headlights cut through fog. Behind them, Texas law enforcement activated the largest manhunt since the 1960s. Inside the command center, the warden slammed his fist on the table. How did 7 men walk out of a maximum security prison? No one answered. By morning, every TV station ran the same headline: "The Texas 7 escape, armed and dangerous." The public panic had begun. 2 days later, the group hid in a cheap motel outside Dallas. They ate fast food, shaved their heads, and counted stolen cash. Rivas paced near the window. "They'll be hunting already," he muttered. They made fake IDs using an old printer. "Tomorrow we're ghosts," Rivas said. But one man shook his head. "Ghosts don't get second chances." Rivas stood at the window, staring at flashing news vans outside. "They already know our faces," he said. "Then we'll need new ones." That night, one fugitive slipped out to buy supplies. He didn't notice the patrol car parked across the street. The officer inside lifted his radio. Possible suspect spotted. Rain tapped on the patrol car's windshield. The officer adjusted his mirror. A man in a hoodie walked out of the motel, carrying a grocery bag. Something about him felt wrong. The man turned his head slightly, just enough for the officer to see. It was him, one of the 7 faces from the wanted posters. The officer's hand moved toward the radio. "This is Unit 12, possible visual on Texas escapee," the officer whispered. Static filled the air. Then, "Do not engage. Back up en route." The fugitive paused mid-step. He felt eyes on him. Slowly, he turned toward the cruiser. For a moment, silence. Then, he dropped the bag and ran. The officer jumped out, shouting, "Stop! Police!" Rain splashed as both sprinted into the night, weaving through alleyways. The fugitive leapt a fence and disappeared into the woods. The officer stopped, out of breath. "He's heading south," he yelled into the radio. Inside the motel room, Rivas watched the chase from behind the curtain. "They found us," he whispered. The others grabbed their guns and cash. They stuffed everything into duffel bags: cash, weapons, maps. Luis looked panicked. "What do we do now?" Rivas replied coldly, "We move before sunrise." Rivas pointed to a map on the wall. "We separate. Smaller groups draw less heat. We meet in Colorado." The men nodded reluctantly. By dawn, the manhunt covered half of Texas. Helicopters hovered over highways. News vans followed every lead. "Have you seen these men?" Flashed on every TV. At gas stations, families locked doors. Kids were kept home from school. The Texas 7 had become America's most wanted. 3 of the fugitives stole a church van, posing as volunteers. They drove north, stopping at rest areas only at night. At a gas station, a clerk recognized him from the news. He quietly pressed the alarm under the counter. Police cruisers swarmed the area minutes later, but the van was gone. "They're ghosts," one officer muttered. Running out of cash, Rivas told the group, "We need money. Big money." They found a Target store in Irving, Texas, just before Christmas Eve. Inside the van, they loaded guns, tied rags around their faces. "Fast and quiet," Rivas said. "No one gets hurt." They stormed the store shouting, "On the ground!" Terrified employees froze as cash drawers flew open. The plan was going smoothly until one officer arrived. Officer Aubrey Hawkins pulled into the parking lot. Unaware of what waited inside, he radioed, "Suspicious van, checking it out." It was his last call. Gunfire erupted. Flashes lit the night. Within seconds, chaos consumed the parking lot. When the shooting stopped, Officer Hawkins lay motionless beside his car. Rivas looked shaken. "We didn't plan this," he whispered. But there was no turning back now. The next morning, headlines screamed, "Officer killed by Texas 7." The story dominated national news. Texas Rangers, FBI, and U.S. Marshals formed a joint task force. Posters went up in every state. The reward doubled overnight. Rivas stared at the bloody floor of the van. "We didn't come this far to die in Texas," he said coldly. "Next stop, Colorado." They crossed the border in silence. Snow began to fall as they reached Colorado Springs. A new state, same danger. They bought an old RV and parked near a quiet Christian campground. They blended in, or so they thought. Rivas introduced them as traveling preachers. They even helped clean snow from driveways. To locals, they seemed harmless. One night, one of the fugitives bragged at a bar about a Texas job. A patron quietly called the police. Wide cinematic shot of armored FBI units positioning around snow-covered RV park under blinding lights. 16:9. "FBI, come out with your hands up." No movement. Then, a gunshot from inside the RV. Tear gas filled the air. One fugitive surrendered crying. Another didn't move again. Rivas stepped out last, hand high, whispering, "It's over." The capture made national headlines. 4 of the Texas 7 were sentenced to death. 2 others took their own lives before capture. The legend was over. Years later, documentaries, books, and films told their story. But for Officer Hawkins' family, it never became entertainment, only pain. In his final interview, George Rivas said quietly, "We just wanted to be free." But freedom doesn't mean running. The Texas 7 escape remains one of America's most shocking prison breaks. A story of hope, fear, and choices that can never be undone.